Greetings, my dear beloved friends. In this video, we are going to continue answering your questions regarding ALMINE'S work. So the next question that we received was the following. Can you please explain what it really means that we are not supposed to mix ALMINE'S work with our own works and works of other teachers? I remember that during one of ALMINE'S private consultations in Russia, and I was an interpreter, there was a question to ALMINE from someone who practiced Reiki and had desire to work with Palaspata. So this lady, a Reiki master, asked if she must stop practicing Reiki if it's necessary requirement for initiation to Balaspata. Of course, Almin explained to her about cosmic changes in the year 2006 and why Reiki is no longer effective. And she told her that she didn't want to interfere with her personal belief systems, but the only thing that she asked that lady, a Reiki practitioner, that she wouldn't use Balaspata sigils during Reiki session, and not use Reiki symbols and practices during Balaspata session. Otherwise, it would be mixing ALMIN'S work with other methods, which is not safe for practitioner as well as for recipient. This perfectly answers what it really means not mixing ALMIN'S work with other works. For example, if you are in the middle of Kivesta session, it will be not safe for a practitioner as well as for a recipient, if you're working with a client, to use some components of Reiki or brain repatterning or any other stuff of other teachers, because those methods are not alchemically compatible, and mixing them would create undesired situations in practitioners' lives, much chaos and turmoil. So Almin gives us this warning to keep us safe. She also asked us not to mix her own modality. For example, if we work with Balaspata, it's Balaspata only. There are special sigils that open the session and sigils that close the session. So we know exactly when and how the session begins and ends. And we work according to the instructions. And if it's Balaspata session, then we don't try to install Kivesta session into it, or vice versa. Every modality has something that signify its beginning and end. And after the end of the current process, we can use other tools or modalities if needed. There's enough information why other modalities are no longer effective, and everyone can access it. And this is the end of our responsibilities. We are not going to install surveillance cameras or eavesdropping devices in the offices of psychologists or healing practitioners that use ALMIN'S work for their clients. Our responsibility ends with providing corresponding information, and now it's their responsibility how to use it. Of course, we have the best hopes in ALMIN'S statement that her work can self-correct, even if it's misused. But if we are in a sound mind, why we would want to misuse it? Why to burden ourselves by trying to use other non-Balaspata methods during Balaspata session, if we perfectly know that Balaspata is self-sufficient enough and instructions are clear enough? But again, we come back to ALMIN'S teaching about mastery. A master doesn't seek the truth, master creates it, moment by moment. Indeed, a master creates truth. Therefore, the goal is not to seek truth, but to create it consciously. Those are ALMIN'S words. Are you a master? Of course, yes. Then how many truths have you created consciously? If we are ALMIN'S students, we are truth creators. And of course, we use the truths that we ourselves created when we work with others, our family members or our clients, if we work professionally as counselors and healers. Recently, there was a question from some of our Russian family members, as sometimes they visit other practitioners' websites, and as if it was an argument about among some practitioners about whether or not we can use the truths that we created for our clients, or should we just use ALMIN'S existing tools only? So if we are expected to consciously create our own truths, what would be a benefit out of them if we don't use them? The only requirement is that before the session with the client, we must determine the way we are going to work and what modality to use. If it's only Bilvaspata, then we use only Bilvaspata. If you want to use something else besides Bilvaspata, then we need to end Bilvaspata session first with closing sigils. This is the end of Bilvaspata session. And only then we can use something else if we see it appropriate and necessary. Clear enough. The next question. To what extent can we use artificial intelligence in our business plan for prosperity projects? Someone in Russia who has outstanding skills in the area of IT suggested that we, ALMINE'S Russian office, should use artificial intelligence in our work. According to his opinion, we don't have to do all the work when we have conveniences of the modern world at our disposal. We live in the age of technology, after all. I wasn't sure if I understood him correctly, so I asked him what exactly he meant. And he went on explaining the scope of capacities of artificial intelligence, that if we set it up properly to work for us, we will do literally nothing or almost nothing and just enjoy passive income. For example, there's a great philosopher that's no longer alive, but he left a huge amount of legacy, hundreds of thousands of pages of his works, and all of this data can be uploaded into artificial intelligence and to set it up so that it will continue to write his new books based on the data at its disposal in billions of different variations, of course, as if this great writer, philosopher, is still alive and keeps writing his books. More than that, there's also a possibility to ask him questions on various topics, and artificial intelligence will be answering as if it was him still alive and talking with people. So he suggested that what if we would do the same with Almin's work and have Almin keep writing her books and articles and answer people's questions? Literally, it would be Almin without Almin. Later, someone else actually demonstrated to me someone's data was uploaded there, and that person died in early 70s, and they asked him questions, and the artificial intelligence answered them on his behalf based on the uploaded data. Well, I had to decline that offer because, yes, we live in the age of technology, but in our work with Almin, perhaps we can use it to some extent, like for translations from language to language, although we, Almin's Russian office, Team Almin Russia, never used, and we don't even slightly intend to use artificial intelligence in our work. We may assume that to some extent, perhaps, if the artificial intelligence speaks on Almin's behalf, possibly people can be informed about the general idea of Almin's work. But artificial intelligence doesn't have power to heal or make positive changes in people's lives. Because it takes a student who managed to embody Almin's teachings and tools in his life, at least to some degree, to be able to use Almin's work for the purpose that it's designed to be used, to heal people, to set them free from illusions, and to make positive changes, breakthroughs, and upgrades in their lives. And only a student who is living embodiment of the teachings is able to transmit them, literally, to breathe it into other people's lives. They must become their breath of life to be able to impact people, not just dead information. The artificial intelligence can be programmed to conduct a Belospata session, for example, but this kind of session would be literally a waste of time because artificial intelligence cannot embody 12 pairs of emotions and other states of being, which is a requirement for being able to work with this modality, because it's more than just mechanical movements. It's transmission of those pure emotions and states of being into a client's life. It's impartation of frequencies, and artificial intelligence can't possess high frequencies just by default. I was told by this high-tech person, Sergey, why don't you just program your website and have artificial intelligence write daily posts? And he tried to convince me that it would be as if Almin herself writes those articles and even answers people's questions. Well, I understand his point. This person is sympathizing Almin's work. He is a friend, and well, he sincerely respects Almin and respects our office, but he wasn't able to understand the principle of the way Almin's work works. You must have an embodiment of Almin's work to be able to communicate it to others from your true self to the true selves of others. It has to be a being to being communication, an impartation, a transfer of frequencies. A Bilvaspata grandmaster from Kazakhstan healed someone from incurable disease and raised someone else from the dead. There's a reason why different Bilvaspata practitioners have different results. That's why preparations for initiations are extremely important. We need to embody those pure states of being prior to being initiated. And some of us try to use shortcuts, express initiations, without the proper self-work that precedes them. That's why we have a lot of shortcut practitioners. They know the technique by memory and can do all the motions, but nothing really happens. There are no shortcuts in Almin's work. Whether we do all the work or it's better to do nothing at all than to deceive ourselves and others. Also, there was a question, why do some practitioners of Almin's work use multiple titles, such as Great Healer, Extraordinary Mystic, Outstanding Seer, Outstanding something else, or choose some sort of fancy nicknames to emphasize their degree of professionalism? Also, they display dozens of various certificates and diplomas, master of this, master of that. 80% of their websites are dedicated to their titles and certificates. It's still unclear what exact measurable results to expect from them by reading their websites. People are not interested in what great and extraordinary they are, and especially in their certificates and diplomas. They want some measurable results. And in order to provide measurable results, a practitioner should be a living embodiment of truth in order to be able to give something to others. We must have it first. And then it's just enough for us to introduce ourselves by our first names. And it's not necessary for us to use compensatory stuff that some people use to compensate their incompetence. If you want to continue to put deeper roots in Almin's work, and as Almin said, there are infinitely multiple layers in each of her body of information, tools, and there will be no end of our exploration. But how to do it effectively? There are two options. One of them, just restudy Almin's work by ourselves, by using books, online courses, webinars that you already have, recordings. We have a lot. Most of us purchased everything, or almost everything, during the last 10 to 20 years. And it's shoreless ocean of information. Or you can use, for example, Team Almin Russian facilitators. All of us were personally trained by Almin during her Russian years of work. and we'll live her teachings moment by moment. For examples, our two facilitators, Olga and Ella, demonstrate their true mastery in Russia-Ukraine combat zones. They live there. Sometimes when you listen to the recordings of their teachings, you may hear explosions of the bombs and missiles in the background. They truly demonstrate their true mastery, keeping their inner balance and empowering others with clear measurable results, like, well, Ella shares about the way to use Almin's work, dissolve fears, black magic, and negative events. Her words are not cheap. Missiles are flying back and forth over the roof of her house 24 hours a day since March 2022. And some of them are exploding almost at her doorstep. And she knows exactly what she says when she teaches about dissolving negative events. This is going to be a topic of her upcoming practical intensive tomorrow. If you didn't register yet, you are more than welcome to register and participate. We'll post the registration link in the description to this video. True teachers or facilitators of ALMIN'S work truly earn the right to teach and facilitate because they demonstrate it by their own lives. We can share only what we have. I personally translated all Ella's private sessions with Almin, including Almin's hands-on initiation of Ella into their own mastery, and many other initiations and activations which Almin gave her. Almin breathed her life into Ella, and now Ella breathes Almin's life into others. This is how true succession of mastery works. Our team works as direct lineage from Almin. Again, it doesn't mean that others who work under Almin's business plan for prosperity are less than that, because everyone has the potential to earn the same lineage, the same succession by Belospata self-initiations, only giving attention to all, even the smallest details. There are no shortcuts here. Every pair of pure emotions must be diligently internalized. The same as every ray, every state of being. If some of us made a shortcut and was initiated without preparation, it's not necessary to reinitiate ourselves, but now we need to do the works that we skipped. And by the way, if any of us feels like we need to be more rooted into those states of Bilvaspatan, 12 pairs of emotions, states of being, etc., we can always do those internalizations as many times as we feel like we need it. Only you know what you need, and you have all resources and tools available. Another great question, really great question that we just received from a light family member. I woke up and fell asleep for a few hours, and when I woke up again, I feel like I'm in a different reality. I feel shifted. I feel fine but different. I'm recently delved deeper into Almin's work. I've been re-listening to audios, webinars, taking notes and trying to embody the teachings. Can that be a reason? And the answer is absolutely yes. Some of those who participate in Almin's seminars and retreats in Russia had absolutely the same effect. They found themselves in totally new, upgraded realities and circumstances just because they spent time in Almin's presence and listened to the teachings, even though they didn't understand most of them. But Almin always encouraged us that even if we don't understand even a word out of the teachings, especially from the first time, we don't have to be discouraged because we receive even more than just meaning of the words on the non-cognitive frequency level. And we will receive all measurable effects of this work in our life experience after the event. And we received many testimonies like that from all over Russia. And Almin's recordings have the same effect as if we spent time in her physical presence. So we can say that truly Almin's work has no limits. We can experience the same effects whether we were fortunate to participate in her retreats before 2020, or we just listen to her recordings, or we work with Almin trained facilitators of her work, or with qualified facilitators under Almin's business plan for prosperity. It's all the same. Talk to you soon.